If you've ever wondered what government looks like when it's trying to hide its own fingerprints, you're about to see it. This isn't a viral clip because someone got owned. It's viral because one question hits the one place power can't stand: accountability. Senator Murray lays a trap that's impossible to dodge without admitting something ugly. Either you're lying or you're not the one making decisions. And then she asked the simplest follow-up in Washington: who decided to withhold childcare funding? Watch what happens next, because the moment the question gets specific, the answers get emotional.
We have to do better. Now, Secretary Kennedy, listening to your testimony last week, frankly, left me pretty confused and concerned about what is happening at your department. You repeatedly claim that staffing and funding cuts that have been reported on publicly and even confirmed by your department staff are not happening. So either you're lying or you're not the one making the decisions. You said, and I quote, "I made sure that Head Start was not cut," later going on to say there should not be any delays, the funding is there. Well, Mr. Secretary, HHS is delaying billions in funding for Head Start and childcare. These funding delays meant that a Head Start program in my state that serves more than 400 children had to close its doors and left parents scrambling. So let me ask you about another child care issue. Secretary Kennedy, whose decision was it to withhold child care and development block grant funding?
Senator, I want to point out that in 2021, at the beginning of his administration, President Biden submitted his budget on May. You know what? You made an accusation of me, and I'm going to answer it.
Okay, I appreciate
On May
that.
28th, he submitted his budget. So our budget. We're a new administration.
Okay, you can.
And I also want to point out.
I have just 2 minutes left. I asked you a specific.
I want to point out something, Senator. You presided here, I think, for 32 years. You presided over the destruction of the health of the American people.
Well,
our people are now the sickest people in the world.
Seriously,
because you have not done your job.
Seriously. That is an
what have you done about it? What have you done about the epidemic of chronic disease?
Mr. Secretary,
what have you done about the epidemic of chronic disease?
Seriously, Madam
Secretary,
Chairman.
I would ask you to hold back and let the senator ask the questions.
Mr. Secretary, I'm asking you a question about child care. I'm asking you who made the decision to withhold child care and development block grant funding.
That was made by my department.
Okay, and you said last week, quote, "We were not cutting thousands of scientists, we are not cutting clinical trials." But I want you to know, in the last 4 months, you fired or pushed out nearly 5,000 NIH staff and terminated more than 1,600 NIH grants. That includes more than 240 clinical trials across the country. So whose decision was it to fire scientists and terminate these NIH grants and the clinical trials?
Senator, I don't trust your information with all due respect. You told me 3 days ago or 4 days ago that we had cut a clinical trial in your state, and what you said turned out to be completely untrue, and you knew it was untrue because you corresponded with Jay Bhattacharya before
Madam
that.
Chairman, I will answer that. It shouldn't take me, first of all, raising an issue with you face to make sure NIH is working its way through this. The woman that was in question, as I clarified to you at the last committee, was qualified for a clinical trial, unlike you stated. So
Untrue. Untrue.
No, that is true.
Untrue. She qualified this week. We shouldn't be talking about patients' private information.
I agree.
Anyway.
And let's leave that. And I will just say your staff didn't get back to me till 45 minutes ago.
We have the emails. We have the emails from your staff 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, you were corresponding. What you said you knew was untrue when you said it to me.
You came here to argue with me. I came here to ask you questions about your budget request. Your budget request is asking us to cut dramatically, but I am also making the point that Senator Baldwin made, that what you are doing right now is enacting your budget that Congress has not passed by cutting critical funding across the board. And I think this committee will find that to be very detrimental in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Hyde-Smith.
All right, let's unpack what happened, because this exchange tells you more than any press release ever will. Senator Murray opens with a line that's basically a pop quiz. Either you're lying or you're not the one making decisions. Then she follows it with the cleanest question in Washington: who decided to withhold the child care and development block grant funding? That question matters because it isn't vibe-based. It isn't, what's your vision? It's, name the decision maker. Oversight 101. If you're proud of the choice, you own it. If it's necessary, you explain it. If it's complicated, you walk through the chain of responsibility. But what do we get instead? A pivot, a clock check, and an attack ad. RFK Jr. doesn't start with, here's the policy. He starts with, we have 2 minutes, and then spends those 2 minutes talking about her 32 years in Congress and blaming her for America's chronic disease crisis. That might play great in a campaign clip, but it's not an answer to the question on the table. It's the classic dodge. Turn a yes or no into a biography fight, burn the clock, and hope everyone forgets what you were asked. And notice who has to restore the rules. The chair. She steps in and tells him to hold off so the senator can actually ask her question. That's the referee grabbing the whistle because the witness is trying to filibuster a budget hearing. Murray repeats the question again, and only then do we get the most revealing sentence in the whole clip. That was made by my department. Not I decided. Not here's who signed the directive. Just my department. A sentence that sounds like accountability while keeping fingerprints off the glass. From there, Murray does what oversight is supposed to do. Follow the same thread into the NIH. She cites staffing losses, terminated grants, clinical trials, and asks the same thing. Whose decision was it? And instead of naming a decision maker, he shifts to attacking her information and drags in a specific patient story. That's another escape hatch. When you can't answer the who, you turn it into a courtroom fight over whether the questioner misstated one detail. Then we get the rapid true, untrue back and forth, and he suddenly discovers the language of privacy, which is a real concern, sure, but it's also very convenient when you're trying to shut down a line of questioning. Murray says her staff got responses late and points to emails going back weeks. RFK Jr. says she came to argue and he came to discuss the budget. But that's the point. The budget isn't just numbers. The budget is decisions, and decisions have owners. Here's why this lands. You're watching two versions of government collide. One version is oversight, lawmakers demanding specifics, names, timelines. The other version is performance, deflect, counterpunch, turn scrutiny into a personality feud. If you run an agency, you don't get to treat who decided like it's a troll question. That question is how democracy checks power. And Murray's closing warning is the real headline. She's saying the administration is acting like the cuts are already law, like Congress is optional. Whether you agree with every number she cites or not, the principle is simple. Congress appropriates funds, agencies execute them, and if money is being held up or programs are being altered, there has to be transparency about why and by whose authority. My department isn't transparency, it's a fog machine. So if you take nothing else from this clip, take this. The hottest moments weren't the zingers. The hottest moments were the non-answers. Because when an official can't or won't say who made a major funding decision and has to be forced into even a vague reply, that's not confidence. That's damage control. And in a hearing about programs real families rely on, damage control is not a plan. And the next time someone tells you, trust us, remember that oversight exists because trust is not a funding mechanism.